welcome back to That's Entertainment Welcome back to That's Entertainment with Brenton and Jared, and we've got Joanne Samuel on the line. Joanne, are you there?
I am. I'm here.
Hello, Joanne. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's lovely to be with you.
Yeah. So, Joanne, I've actually been a big fan of yours for a very long time, but not because of the Young Doctors, and we'll get to that in a second. But first of all, let's talk about the Young Doctors.
Okay.
So, you played a character called Jill.
That's correct, Jill Gordon.
Jill Gordon, and now, and she was the daughter of the superintendent secretary, Helen Gordon.
That's right.
And now, the notes I've got here, we first met Jill after she returned from Canberra, where she had been having a disastrous affair with an older married man.
No, she was terrible, wasn't she? But she was a very good nurse.
I'm sure she was. I mean, she started off as a nurse's aide, and she eventually trained to become a full-time nurse. Now, Jill went through a lot of issues. You know, she had a mad crush on rock star Georgie Saint, who was Mark Hembrow, who I actually interviewed I interviewed Mark not too long ago, actually. Really nice guy, Mark.
Yeah, he's awesome.
And but something happened, or she was also had a mad crush on Dr. Graham Still, Tim Page, who was more concerned with his work as a doctor than romance. But it was a show that never had any actual medical stuff happen, wasn't it?
Well, that's right. And when it did, it was so funny the way we would do things and, take people's pulse, or, any medical things that we did were really quite funny. We had a lovely, lovely lady, Susan Stewart, who was a nurse, and she came into the show to help us with all that what was the right way of doing something medically. And she ended up being a character in the show. Susan. Yeah. She was a lovely lady. Yeah. Not many medical things. It was all about love and relationships.
And all the drama.
And all that drama.
There was a lot of drama in the show. It was good TV shows. It was. I mean, it was one of those shows that was like Prisoner and probably Class of '74, though I don't remember that one.
I was in that one. I did lots of Crawford stuff too. I did Skyways and did episodes in Cop Shop and Matlock and Homicide. I think I actually go back to black and white telly, which is pretty scary when you think about it. Yeah, but I think that was the golden age of Australian television back then.
It was big. That was back when Australian TV was huge. I mean, there was Number 96, which was a massive TV show. There was the Paul Hogan show. There was Don Lane show. There was a lot of really good TV stuff, whether it was comedies, whether it was variety shows like Don Lane, and that, or if it was dramas like Cop Shop, The Box, Homicide.
Sons and Daughters. I did Certain Women for the ABC. That was a classic show as well. Yeah. There was so much drama. It was just, it was a privilege to have been part of all that.
Yeah, it was a time when there was a lot of Australian pioneer television and film as well. I mean,
film as well.
Which brings me to why I have been a big fan of yours since I can remember.
Yeah.
You were married to Mel Gibson in something, weren't you?
Yes, Max Rockettansky.
Yes, you were his wife in Mad Max. You were Jesse. Jesse, you ain't got a sense of humour.
You've not got a sense of humour. I know. Beautiful. Hugh Keysbone, we lost him not so long ago.
Yeah, I know. Very, very sad when he left. That was last year, I believe.
He's a gentle giant of a man, beautiful man.
I imagine he would be. I mean, I was a fan of his since I saw the film Stone, which I think was before Mad Max.
It was before Mad Max. That was produced by David Hannay, and he's another dear friend of mine that's no longer with us. But yeah, I remember that movie.
Yeah, that was a good film. But these were independent movies. You know, Mad Max.
Directors and producers. They mortgaged their homes to make movies back in those days.
But
they put everything on the line to just be creative and to get the Australian film and television industry going. People risked a lot to do that.
Thank God for their sacrifices.
But back then, the producers were able to, because they had the 10AB or the 10BA.
10BA.
So back then, I think it was 150% of the investment they could claim back on tax. Later on it went to 100%, and then it was just no point doing it.
Well, that's right, and people watered it too. I think in the day, good old human nature came to the fore there.
Yeah.
But Screen Australia we can still have the producers offset and things like that we can pull on. It's nowhere near a 10BA, but there's still a little bit of support.
Well, I've been in the entertainment industry, the acting industry, the film industry, and so forth for about 41 years now. I actually directed my first short film when I was 10 years old as part of the South Australian Association of Screening Education, which is now South Australian Association of Media Education. But
fantastic.
Yeah, and because I wanted to be an actor. I was 10 years old and I wanted to be an actor, and they had it was like the 48-hour film challenge. You know the 48-hour film challenge?
Yes, I do know the 48-hour film challenge.
So they didn't call it that back then. So they had this thing, and I went along to it. I nagged my parents. I saw a sign. I'll get back to this. I've got to ask about. So I saw a sign or an advertisement or something for actors 10 and up. They wanted actors 10 and up for this 48-hour film thing. The filmmakers retreat, it was called. So I nagged my parents. I said, because I'd always wanted to be an actor, and I nagged my parents. I said, look, I really want to do this. And so Mum and Dad said, well, we'll get rid of you for the long weekend for $20. All right, here you go. So I went along to it. And one of the organisers came up to me, and this was back in Adelaide. It was in the Adelaide Hills somewhere. It was probably about an hour's drive outside Adelaide, or an hour and a half. And the organiser came up and said, so how much acting experience have you got? I didn't have any. I didn't know the first thing about acting. Of course, as an actress, you know that you can't learn to be an actor overnight. You might think you're an actor, but you're definitely not an actor until you've actually done the hard yards.
So I actually run a youth theatre in the Blue Mountains and train kids that they're all keen. You as a 10-year-old reminds me a lot of my students. They're so keen. They've got their blinkers on. This is the industry they want to be in. This is what they do. And I just love these kids so much. We do. And my thing is to put them in front of an audience. So we produce about 6 plays a year when there's no COVID. And we do those plays for an audience, and I think that gives them really, really good experience. We do weekly classes that gets us to that point, but I just love these kids. They're so keen, and they just so desperately want to be part of the industry. I've got students now, because I just directed a feature film, and some of my students come in as interns, and some of them had as ADs working in crew, and some of them actually did little roles as well, supporting roles, which is so good for them. It's just to get them out there doing it, and with your little piece, I'm sure that you learnt so much from just doing that 40-hour thing.
I mean, they asked me, and I said, look, I haven't got any experience, and they went away and they had a meeting. They came back and said, look, we can't teach you to be an actor in a weekend, but what we can do is teach you to direct. I said, I'm 10 years old. And they said, look, we'll be right there. We'll be guiding you, making sure you do everything right. And they taught me everything. Well, they taught me the basics. So I made.
And you loved it. Did you love it?
Oh, I fell in love with the industry there and then, and I haven't looked back. I mean, I did 3 years in Neighbours, uncredited, unfortunately, because it wasn't a main role. My last major role was, or the last major film that I was in was The Legend of Ben Hall.
I remember that.
You've seen that one? Well,
yes.
Well, I played Magistrate Rose. I was the guy that gets pulled out of the mail cart and held at gunpoint.
There you go.
Yeah. So
was that an ABC thing?
No, it was an independent film.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that was an independent film by Two Tone Pictures, and it was Matthew Holmes, a young. Well, when I say young, he's younger than me. I'm 51, but he was. He's a young filmmaker in Melbourne, probably in his 30s. Really nice guy, very passionate about the industry, and that was I believe his second feature film. He did Twin Rivers a few years back, but it was a very expensive independent film too. I believe they had to raise about $700,000 for that particular film.
Wow. That's not so much these days, is it?
It's not, but for an independent film it is, and if you have, I mean, you've seen the film, you've seen the production value, you know that it's huge. So,
yeah.
So, we'll get back to, let's get back to your school that you're training youngsters at the Three Sisters Youth Theatre in the Blue Mountains, when there's no COVID. So, what sort of advice do you give to young actors when they come? Because I teach acting as well. I teach it here in Inspire.
Right. It depends on the student, really. Everyone's an individual, and each student has their own strengths. I think it's a strength to know your weakness and to work on that. I think I say to them, you need the 4 T's. You need talent, you need training, you need technique, and you need tenacity. So you need to be able to just jump up and when you're knocked down, because as you know, as an actor, there's a lot of being knocked down. You know, there's a lot of rejection that you have to deal with. You can't take it personally. It's part of the job to go to an audition and to either get it or not get it. If you go to the audition, see it as a chance to perform and to do your best. Then when you walk away, forget about it. If they ring you for a callback or if they ring you again, that's fantastic. But to audition, to not always get the job is part of the job. You just have to learn to live with that.
Yeah.
So I think tenacity is something that's really, really important. And of course, you know yourself that because you love it so much, it's almost like, I think it's a bit of a curse sometimes. You've got no choice. You have to do it. You have to be involved in it, and you have to be continuing to be creative. And I love the collaborative creativeness of it as well. I love working with the young kids. I love working with other actors, just to hear their perspective on a character as well and take on board those things. So my kids, they get the text, they can pull it apart, and they can bring something extra into it when we're actually working on it.
Yeah.
But that would be what I say to them generally. But each one of them is so different, and they require different things.
Yeah.
Some of them love musical theatre, some of them love film, some of them just love the drama of being on stage. So we cover all those things in youth theatre. And no, they're awesome. I really love the kids.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I've been in this industry for a long time, but I've only just started teaching recently. And I get a lot of people ask me about going on Neighbours and things like that, and I always ask them why they want to do that. One of the first things I ask is, why do you want to be an actor? And quite often they say, I want to be famous or I want to be rich. And we know that's not going to happen overnight. It takes a long time to become famous. It takes a very long time to become rich from this industry if you're ever going to get there at all.
If you ever do.
Yeah.
If you ever do, I mean, that's for sure.
While you're waiting for your for payment from films and TV and all the rest of it, and your residual checks and things like that. Residual checks, by the way, for our listeners, are not huge.
No,
I think
not in this country.
I think I had one residual check from Neighbours for my entire 3 years that I appeared in it. I think I only ever got one residual check from Neighbours, and I think that was for about $3 something.
Yeah, frame it.
I was expecting something a bit more than that.
It's not much, Jared, I tell you.
No, I understand completely. Totally understand.
I mean, if they say to me, because I know if they want to be famous and they want to be rich, they're going to be disheartened and they're not going to like it. But if it's because they just want to express themselves and they want to get in there and they've just been passionate about trying to become an actor and all the rest of it, it's got nothing to do with money or fame, they're the ones who are going to make it.
Yeah.
You got to love it. You have to love it, otherwise it's too hard.
That's right.
I have one student, she was so shy, her mum and dad brought her along, and she was only about 6 when she first came, a bit young. I normally start them at 9, but she just sat there, and I would ask her, would you like to try this? Would you like to get up? And would you like to try this? And she goes, no, I'm okay. I'll sit. And so I just let her sit, and for about 6 or 7 weeks, until finally, bit by bit, she got up. Well, now she's 18, and she's definitely looking for a career. She's continued. She's shot a film. She's done some stuff. And this little shy girl just has grown and come out of her shell. And I find that some of the kids are really shy. Some actors are shy, and they hide behind the character. They can take a character and they can really just hide in that character and bring them to life.
Yeah.
Some actors are pretty shy too.
I've found that as well. I found a lot of actors. I mean, I've worked with a lot of disabled actors.
Yeah.
Some with.
So good for them. So good.
Definitely, and you find that this actually allows them to be who they want to be, or allows them to shine, and allows them to find a voice. One actor that I've worked with, he had Tourette's. Now,
did that help?
It did. It wasn't his Tourette's were tics. He didn't have he didn't have the swearing that is quite often associated with Tourette's. A lot of people think, Tourette's, they're going to be blurting out the F-bomb all the time. He wasn't like that. He had tics. And he found whenever he was on stage, he never had a single tick.
Really?
There you go.
Whoa.
And it's like a stutter too, isn't it, sometimes? When I've had students who have come for voice classes and that stuff with stutters, but when they're on stage and then they're in the middle of a performance, it just goes.
Yeah.
Or if they're singing a song, or it just goes.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So good for them. So good for their confidence and self-esteem. I did this workshop with my old aunt, who's no longer with us. We went out to remote Australia, to a community out in remote Australia, mostly Indigenous kids, and we wrote a little play for them about their community, and we took all the costumes. It was just me and my old aunt. We travelled for like 2.5, 3 days to get there. And, we had 100% attendance from those kids, which is unheard of in that community. Normally, it's difficult to keep the attendance of these young kids at school. But when we were there, and when we were creating their own stories and helping them to create their own stories, they just loved it. It makes such a difference to their lives.
So that's when things like that, like what you've just said, experiencing your students and everyone achieving, succeeding in roles or really getting involved in classes and things like that. That's where you become rich. It's nothing about money.
That's very good. That's great. That's so true.
It comes down to watching people you teach, because we're teachers. You and I are both teachers, and a lot of actors out there. I mean, I caught up with Steve Bisley only a few weeks back. We had a few.
Oh, he's over there now. The old Bizzo.
He's over here at the moment. Yeah. He and I we caught up in a pub for a few drinks.
Oh, you're lucky to be able to do that.
Go to a pub?
Go to a pub and have a drink with somebody.
I feel really sorry for you guys over there, because you guys are in a lot of trouble at the moment, aren't you?
Oh, no, it's terrible.
Yeah, because you're in Sydney,
It's really bad. Yeah, well, I'm in the Blue Mountains, just outside of Sydney.
And you're still affected?
Yes, we're part of Greater Sydney. So we're in lockdown as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mind you, we don't have any cases here in the Upper Blue Mountains.
But you're still in lockdown and all that.
We're still in lockdown. Yeah.
I have a horrible feeling you're going to be there for a little while.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
But no, I caught up with Steve, and we had a few drinks, because Steve and I have been Facebook friends for ages, and he's always said to me when he comes over to Perth, we'll go for a few drinks. I said, yeah, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So every time he's been promising to come over, something has gone wrong, and he didn't end up getting over here. But he teaches as well. He's taught.
Was he at Whopper? I thought he was teaching at Whopper.
I'm not 100% sure.
I think he is. I think he does a few things with Whopper.
He might run a few lectures there when he's over here, because he's not here permanently. Well, he might be at the moment because his girlfriend's here, and he's. I know that he said he's been here for about 6 months, but he usually just comes and goes,
Yeah, I do know.
But I think the fact that the borders were locked down and everything, and he was like, well, I'm not going anywhere now, I'm here, I'm staying here for a little while. But
he's a great friend. I see when he's over here, we catch up all the time. So he's a dear friend.
Yeah. No, he's a really nice guy.
He is. He's awesome.
Yeah.
Great actor too.
He shouted the first round.
What?
But no, really nice guy. Of course, we talked a lot about Mad Max and so forth, because when you're talking to someone like Steve, that's what you talk about, that and water rats and so forth. But we finally caught up, and my partner said to me, because my partner and I, we've got a 14-month-old baby together, and she said, I wonder if we can bump the brother-in-law off and get Steve to come and be a godfather.
Oh, he'd love that. Steve's got a few kids and grandkids.
Yeah. So okay, so what was Mel Gibson like?
He was a very hard-working, connected actor. When we shot Mad Max, he took a lot of notice of George Miller, and he was really hard-working. I mean, it was tough because they don't make films like that anymore.
No, they don't.
Everything was real. All the stunts, everything was... No green screen on that one.
No.
But it was tough, but it was also fantastic. It was like he was really, really connected and really in the role, and we all made really good friends. It was funny because the boys, like Hugh and all the acolytes, all the bikers, they got their bikes and their costumes in Sydney, and they became those characters once they got their costumes and their bikes, and they rode all the way down to Melbourne for us to shoot, and it became really much like us and them, because that's the way they created it. So Steve, myself, and Mel and Grant Page, the stuntman, we all shared a flat, and all the bikers, they all shared a flat. And they would break into our apartment and, you know, put fake blood everywhere. And when my hair was cut, they took all my hair and they would throw it around and leave notes saying, "We're going to get you, Bond." So they were really into it right from the very beginning. They would just, but I think it created quite a bit of havoc on set. And I felt quite sad for George Miller because it was out of control sometimes, you know, and this was his first feature film directing, and he was directing it with these incredible stunts and amazing people involved.
Yeah.
He definitely had a very strong vision for the film. And because I think he's got a good sense of editing, George. He did it, and he knew exactly what he wanted and how he wanted it cut and what he wanted to see on screen.
Yeah. I think directors...
Mel was great.
Sorry, keep going.
No, I was just saying, I think Mel was great. He was great to work with, you know, and we all were great mates. We became really good friends.
Yeah. Well, Steve was saying that Mad Max was basically his and Mel's first film after NIDA. They'd been in NIDA together.
That's right.
Yeah.
They love to forget about one called, what was it called? Summer City.
Oh, okay.
Which wasn't a very good film at all. They did that just before that one, but it wasn't a very good film, no. But Mad Max definitely launched, you know, Mel and Steve to some regard, yeah.
But you were saying a minute ago about George's passion and everything, and I think that's, and his vision, I think that's really important for a director. Yeah, as a director myself, and I direct films and I also direct stage. I do a lot of community theatre, and you know, there's always my vision in there with community theatre. It's not just what's written on the script, which, you know.
No, well, that's the director must have the vision.
That's right.
To be able to pull it off. And then it's hard to follow through with that vision when you've got strong personalities around you as well with their own ideas for things.
Yeah.
Like if it's, you know, whether it's the production designer, whether it's the cameraman, whether it's whoever it is that has this other vision, to stay true to your vision. And dare I say, especially as a woman on set, as a director, it's really you. That's the thing I've been learning, is how to communicate that the best way and to keep a hold on it, not to let go of your vision within it.
Yeah. So let's get
tough.
Now let's get back to the reason we're doing the interview, and that's the young doctors. So have you got your box set yet?
No, I haven't yet.
You haven't?
No. I've been working. I just actually finished directing a film when all this sort of stuff came out. I've got to get one. Got to get on to Darren and get that, and get into the stores. But I've just finished directing, and I've been flat out. So I've been home now for we finished it just as COVID. We had about 2 weeks during COVID, and all that being under COVID restrictions and Screen Australia's guidelines for how to shoot a film. So we were getting COVID tested every 3 days. We were all living in a bubble. We were really just shooting a film, and that was it. It was fun. We laughed a lot with one another. But no, now I'm home, and I've just been settling in and unpacking and getting the garden ready for spring, not doing much really. So no, I intend to get my box set very soon.
Yeah. So tell me about this film, Alison's Birthday.
Oh, that's an oldie.
Yeah? Apparently the role was written for you, is that correct?
Yeah, that was David Hannay, my friend that was a producer on Stoned. He also produced Alison's Birthday. I was very young. I think I was only about 16 or 17 when I did that.
Okay.
Yeah. It wasn't a bad story, actually. It was a really good story. Bonnie Brooke was in it. John Bluthal, do you remember him?
John.
He's a guy, he's that English actor, he's a really, really funny actor. He was in The Vicar of Dibley. He was the actor that always used to go, yes.
One of my favourite characters in Vicar of Dibley.
Yeah, really awesome. So he was in it, Bunny Brook. He was also in number 96. Lou Brown. Just trying to think, the rest of the cast was so long ago.
I only know. I really only know number 96 from what I was able to see down the hallway when I was not supposed to be watching it.
When you were supposed to be watching?
I wasn't supposed to be watching it. I think it was like every other Australian kid at the time, because it had full frontal nudity and everything. It broke a lot of boundaries, that one. And but it was I did watch episodes of it later, but it was such a good show. But but that one, I was one of the kids that used to sneak up and watch behind my parents' back or something while from the doorway and so forth. And then us kids would all talk about it the next day at school.
What a time!
Now you've also worked with the Wiggles.
Yes, I did the Wiggles movie. I played Mrs. Bingle. That was great. They're a great bunch of guys. They're such a great bunch of guys. They really, really care about the kids, and they really care about.
You can see that.
Yeah.
I took my youngest son, who's 14 months. I took him to see the Wiggles. The new Wiggles, the ones with Emma and so forth.
Yeah, the new ones,
But my eldest two, who are now 29 and 27.
Well, they would have pointed their fingers and did the twist.
Oh, they were into the original Wiggles, Greg and
that's right,
and all that. And we went to the movies to see the Wiggles movie, and I think they were the only ones who were dancing, because all the other parents were probably keeping the kids still going. No, stays. But the Wiggles is one of those things that you get up and you dance.
Of course you do. That's what you do.
I mean, my little boy Alfie, who he had only just turned 1 just before a week before the Wiggles. Before I took him to the Wiggles, he loved it. He sat there and he was dancing, or bopping away, jumping up and down my lap and everything.
They're a whole other generation.
Definitely. So, yeah.
They're great. No, I love the Wiggles.
Yeah. So, and now what's this? Rat Bags.
Rat Bags. That was, that was one of those sort of comedy shows with a few people that were regulars.
Was Rat Bags the one where I can't think of his name, but he used to do cooking with a chicken and shove Mars bars?
John Derham.
Yes, who later became face of, was it Captain Snooze or something?
Oh, I don't know about that. I know he worked with a politician for a while. As an assistant up here in the Blue Mountains as well.
Okay.
He's done a few things, but that was John Eastway, I think, directed that, from what I can remember. That was a long time ago. I think we ran for about 2 seasons. It was a forerunner to things like Frontline and those sorts of shows.
Yeah, it was one of those. It was one of those shows. It didn't last an incredibly long time, but it was very popular.
It was.
It was.
I'm just trying to.
Around the same time that all the rivers run blood or something, I can't remember. There was some comedy show where you used to have to call up at the end of the show and decide which way the show was going to go or something. I can't remember. All the rivers run red or something. I can't remember. But no, I do remember Rat Bags, but I only remember him shoving Mars bars inside chickens and cooking it.
Oh, I know. I never thought that was funny myself. but lots of people did.
Well, I was probably the right audience for that particular
right age group for it.
So, but you've done a lot of great shows. I mean, you had Sillivans.
Thank you.
The
Sullivans. I love the Sullivans.
Which of course
made great friends on the Sullivans.
So
I made great friends in every show actually.
Yeah.
That I've done. It's been
well, you become a family, don't you?
Few. You do become a family.
Yeah.
You definitely become a family. You work such long hours, and you're there for a long time, and no, you do become a family. And those friends that I made back in those days are still my friends today.
Yeah.
Yeah, we still hang out when we can, and know one another's children, and my kids know their kids, and it's great.
Yeah.
It's really good.
But when the Sullivans came out, the Young Doctors was almost about to be pulled from the studios because they could only have one TV.
That's right, Channel 9.
Yeah. So, but there was so much demand for the Young Doctors that they decided, okay, let's keep this going as well as the Sullivans. And so you were working a lot then. You were doing Sullivans and you were doing the Young Doctors.
That's right. And of course, I auditioned for Mad Max during the Young Doctors.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't actually get the role to begin with. Ooh. Another actress got the role. Her name was Rosie Bailey. And it was because of the Young Doctors. George said that it was because my face was very well known that he decided to go with Rosie. And so I just thought I didn't get the part. But then the first day going out to location, Rosie was on the back of the stuntman's bike, Grant Page.
Uh-huh.
It was very early in the morning and the sun was behind the bike, and a semi-trailer just pulled straight out in front of them. Thing. And so Grant laid the bike down and slid it underneath the semi-trailer.
Uh-huh.
He's just the most remarkable stunt guy in the world, Grant Page, and saved their lives, but broke both their legs.
Jeez.
So I was on set of the Young Doctors, and Alan Coleman, the producer, called me into his office. Alan was awesome. He was a fantastic guy. And he said, I'm going to write you out of the show. And I went, oh, what have I done? Why are you doing this? Have I done something? Tell me what it is. He said, oh, no, you've got the role in Mad Max, and I'm letting you out of your contract to go and do it. So, beautiful Alan Coleman allowed me to actually suspend my role in the Young Doctors, go and do Mad Max, and come back.
Okay.
Yeah, he was an awesome man.
Yeah. So, what was the audition process for Mad Max?
It was just basically meeting up with George and reading the script, reading some lines. He knew what he wanted in Jessie Rockettansky.
Yeah.
I think he wanted her to be vulnerable but strong, and he knew exactly what he wanted to see. So it wasn't much of an audition, really. It was just actually really meeting him and just going through the script a bit and just doing a few lines. Wasn't much at all, really.
Yeah, well, that was similar to the audition I had for The Legend of Ben Hall, because Matthew Holmes, I'd applied for it, sent my show reel and everything, and I went in to meet with Matthew Holmes. We just sat there and had coffee, and I was eating all his biscuits, and he said to me, and he said to me, cool, he said, look, I'll give you a call in the next few days, and I didn't think anything of it. I thought, hang on, you didn't get me to audition or anything. It was just a meeting. And next thing I know, he said he messaged me. He said, look, I'm going to offer you the role of Magistrate Rose. And I'm like, okay.
That's great. It's a great feeling when you get the part.
Yeah, and I had full beard because which is why I applied for it, because they actually said that they were looking for actors with full facial hair and things like that. So I said to him, "Okay, so how do you want my beard? You know, do you want it goatee? Do you want?" He said, "I want mutton chops."
Oh,
You want mutton chops?
And I was like,
Can you do mutton chops? Could you grow them?
well, I already had full beard, so what they did was they just shaved the bit.
Shaved them off.
They shaved the mustache off. They shaved the bit at the bottom, and that was it. And I tell you what, I could not wait until they'd finished filming, so I could shave completely. But it's an exciting industry, even though, yeah. Look, I'm not rich, I'm not famous, but I just.
But you love your work.
I love my work, and I think I'm experience rich. You know, and as I said before, I get more joy out of seeing my students achieve something.
Yeah.
You know, I've got a young bloke that I teach, and he's what is he, 13, 14? He's got himself a role in it's just an independent film, but he's got himself a role in a film.
Good on him.
And I just went and saw a stage production of Heathers recently, another community theatre production, and a young girl that I had in my last stage production, because I did Dracula, the Bram Stoker's novel. We did that on stage, and she was an understudy for Mina, and she was the main character, Veronica, in Heathers, and she did an amazing job. And watching her, I just said to her afterwards, I said, you've made me and every other director you've ever had so proud.
Yeah.
You know, it's incredible. It's an incredible feeling watching your students achieve.
There's nothing like it. It's fantastic.
Yeah. So now, I forgot to mention this. So, okay, so the Young Doctors was a bit of a family thing for you because your sister Bronwyn joined the cast as well.
Yeah, Bonnie came in.
Yeah.
Alan met my sister, and we thought that it might be good for her to play this role. So she actually had a really good time on it, my sister. I think she would have liked to have gone on to do other things, but life led her in a different direction.
Yeah.
And she's got 4 beautiful children, so who have children now. So she had a great time.
Doesn't it make you feel old when your kids have got kids?
I've got 7 grandkids.
7 grandkids. Wow.
And 1 great-granddaughter.
No way.
I'm a great-grandma. Yellow.
Wow.
I know. I love them. I love my grandbabies.
Well, I've got
so
one grandson, and my daughter has just told me that she's expecting again. She told me about a month ago she's expecting again.
Are they all over there with you? Can you see them?
No, unfortunately, all my family except for Alfie, my 1-year-old, he's here in Perth, but all the rest of them are over in Melbourne. I haven't seen them since 2016. So it's really sad. I mean, we get on Skype, we get on Facebook and video, but it's not the same.
No, you need a cuddle.
I know. So, yeah, I get lots of cuddles from Alfie. He's an adorable little boy, and I can see
awesome.
he's got such a personality, and he's got blonde hair, blue eyes, and I can see he's a gorgeous kid, and I can see if he wants, and I've said this to my partner, if he grows up and wants to be in the industry, I'll support it. I'm not going to push him, but I'll support it. Yeah, I'll let him.
Yeah, for sure you would.
Yeah.
Absolutely you would.
It's not a scary industry. I mean, it has its ups and downs, but it's not scary.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had a ball. I've loved every minute. And I plan to keep doing it until I die.
Well, that's what I mean, I don't think we've got much choice, really. I mean, this is...
No.
I think it's in your blood, and there's always going to be a call for characters who are not just young like Jessie was in Mad Max. I mean, how old was Jessie's... How old was your character in Mad Max?
I was 20 when I did that.
Right.
I'm 64 now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, you're still young.
I am, absolutely. I feel just the same as I did when I did Jessie.
And then, of course, you know, but the thing is, I mean, you know, there's actors out there who are a lot older than us, and they're doing, they're still acting. I mean, Judi Dench and Helen Moran, and you know.
Right. I think as a woman, if you can hang in there until your 60s, then more work comes your way as you get older.
Yeah.
There's a little hiatus there in the middle where I don't know if anybody wants to make stories about 40-year-old women, but then once you get a bit older, then you get a little bit more work coming. So I intend to keep going.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, okay, so just, you want to give us some more, just as we're about to head off, do you want to give us some more tips for our listeners? Because I've got a lot of beginner actors out there.
Oh, have faith in yourself. Trust your instincts. Believe in yourself. Study hard. Network with as many other actors and people in the business that you can. And just keep doing it. Just keep getting up and keep doing it. Read as many plays as you can and practice. Get your techniques right.
Yeah.
But just really have faith in yourself and trust your instincts. That's what I would say.
And accept any role within reason that comes along, you know, whether it's an independent, whether it's a student film.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Buddy Tingle, you remember Buddy Tingle?
Oh yeah.
He said that to me. He used to direct Skyways. He said, "Joe, just say yes. Just say yes.
Yeah.
Next job comes up, you say yes, and just do it."
But
and I always took that advice. He was a lovely man too.
I mean, here I am 41 years into the industry, and you've been in the industry roughly the same amount of time. And it's, you know, I still do this, I still help out with student films. You know, if I'm asked to do a student film, I'll do it. Because
absolutely,
the reason I'll do a student film is they're our next filmmakers. And you know what students are
yeah, they might give you a job.
This is right. You never know. I mean, okay, we all know student films don't pay anything. You know, they're you know, they're part of they're part of their thesis or whatever for university. But those filmmakers, those student filmmakers, they're going to be our next filmmakers, our next commercial filmmakers. And they're the one. If they remember who helped them get to where they are, they'll offer them work.
Yeah.
You know.
Don't forget me when you're famous.
Exactly. And networking, you mentioned networking. Networking is important. I run several networking groups on Facebook. I run Melbourne Actors Meetup Group, Sydney Actors Meetup Group, and Western Australian Actors Meetup Group. So anyone out there?
Yeah, no, they're great. I'll have to look them up.
Yeah. All right. Joanne, thank you so much for your time today, and
it's been my great pleasure.
It's been an absolute pleasure, and hopefully one day we can talk some more.
Oh, that would be awesome. Yeah. That would be really great. You take care over there.
You too, thank you, and stay safe. I mean, you guys have got it pretty bad at the moment with this COVID thing, and you know, we're lucky here, but I've just been watching everything over there, and it's like, oh wow, and I've got family in Sydney, so yeah, so
we'll be fine. We'll pull through. We'll get through.
Exactly, we're all Australians, therefore, you know, that's what we do, isn't it?
Yep. That's right.
All right, Joanne, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Okay.
Bye-bye. And that was Joanne Samuel from Young Doctors, Mad Max, the
list goes on.
Homicide, Class of 74, Matlock Police, did I mention that? You know, and I mean, she started off doing acting classes at the Independent Theatre. So,
long list.
Yeah, so fantastic interview, and I will try and get her on our show again. So, Jared, you know what happens now. You've been my co-host how long now?
I don't know.
A long time. So, Jared, you know, on the count of 3.
Yep.
1, 2, 3.
That's entertainment.